Hey everyone, hope you are doing awesome. Welcome back to my channel Pegahut with another video. Thanks everyone for subscribing to my channel, and if you haven't hit the bell icon yet, please do so you won't miss any of my videos. Please hit the like button or leave me a feedback or comment if you like the video or the way I have explained. Today we are going to discuss the most awaited topic that many of you requested and one of most important topic in Pega, that is database. Please watch the video until end as I have explained each and every tab and options of database in details. I'm going to cover this topic in multiple parts so I could share all of my knowledge with you guys as much as I can about the database and the patterns. So without doing any further delay, let's get into it. Okay, so the first question that I would ask, what is a database, right? Now, honestly, I don't want you guys to, by heart the definition, because if I'm taking your interview, then if you tell me a definition, I wouldn't understand and I wouldn't be happy also. So it's always good to know the concept and, try to construct the word instead of, by hearting the definition. So we are not going to definitely understand that, or I'm not going to tell the definition. I'll just explain you the concept today and you will find your own definition by the end of this video. So now first understand what is a database, right? In normal word, it's like other page in clipboard, right? When I say other page, so in clipboard, as you could see, I've actually got a clipboard here. So in clipboard, you got four different sections. One is user page, data page, link property page, and system page. I'll explain everything in another video. But for this video, because we are only going to discuss about database. So you see, you click on any, for example, you click on prop page, right? Now you see this is called user page in clipboard. Now this page will, every page in the clipboard will be, will be belongs to a class, right? Now this page belongs to rule, object, and property class. Similarly, if I go action info, this page belongs to pega-ui-runtime-display class. So if you want to use any of the property, what generally we do, in page and class, we define this py action info and then a class called pega ui runtime display, and then we use the property that we have used. Similarly, database is also another page in the clipboard. Just the difference is database sitting in a different area altogether. So as you could see, there is a different section altogether, database. Now here you got thread level, requester level, and node level, which I'm going to obviously explain, but just in the interest of time, if you see, if I expand thread level or I click on any database, then d underscore k stays, ins handle and all. So if you see, these are the parameter. If you see, this is the page which belongs to code hyphen pega hyphen list class. Now this is a page which belongs to data hyphen admin hyphen operator hyphen id class. So basically, database is nothing but another page which is sitting under database section, and it will be belongs to a class. Right now, you might be seeing some of the database in the user page section, right? Yes, you are seeing some of the page. Those are called editable database. I'm going to explain that also in a while, but normally for all the read only database and everything, you will find them under database. So that's what I was trying to explain over here. Right now, one thing I would like to ask you guys, many people would have already worked on database, and people who are new, first of all, people who are new has trouble understanding in database, because I remember when I came into Pega world, I didn't understand quite why we need database. Even when, as in when I, started guiding people and all, I asked, do you know what is database and why do you use that? Now, nobody has the right answer. So let's first understand, why this concept is so important, and why Pega, gives more preference to database, and why we have a lot of settings that we have got in database. What's the beauty of that? So let's understand. Forget about the database or Pega world. Let's understand the real world, right? Now, let's say you have got a kitchen and you cooked anything, like let's say rice or something, right? Now your kitchen is over here. You cooked everything. Okay. By the way, this example might sound funny for people who understand and all, but for people who are freshers and who knows database but they don't know why we need to use it, it's really going to help you out. So just hear me out and until this end. Now you got kitchen, you cook rice, everything, and now you are at the dinner table or the lunch table, dining table, right? Now you're sitting with your family to have lunch, right? Now think about it. Now you are having lunch. Now let's say you finish the portion, right? Now what you generally do, you generally go to the kitchen and get the rice or anything in a bowl, in the plate, and then you eat it. So what you did is, every time you finish, let's say I finish and my brother is eating, he finished, then I have to go back and again I have to go get the rice from the kitchen and I have to eat it, right? So that means every time you do a trip to the kitchen and you do it. Now think about it. What is the best way if I don't want to go to kitchen, right? And is there any best way I can do? So the best way is, what if I'll take a portion of rice in a bowl, in a serving bowl, and then I'll just keep on the dining table, so that as and when we eat, as in family and all, then I can take the rice from there instead of going and having a trip to the kitchen, right? Isn't it the best idea? I don't want to go again and again to kitchen. Might as well I'll have in a serving bowl and I'll eat it. So if you understand this concept, this is exactly what database is all about. Now, exactly, you see kitchen, right? Kitchen is nothing but our backend in the real world, right? In the Pega world, kitchen is nothing but our source system, backend data source, everything. Now, dining table is nothing but the front end user or the Pega user, right? And this, serving bowl where the rice is there is nothing but the database. So exactly, if I map them, now I have got data source where I have got all the data sitting over here. Now in real time, the user is going to interact with the data, right? Now generally what happened, every time user wanted to read a data or write a data or do anything, right? They have to go to the backend and they have to, interact with them. Now the problem with this, what happened, how, when you eating the lunch or dinner and you're having a trip, now here also, every time you go, read and write operation in database is very costly, because it has to take a lot of security measurement. It has to make sure it is locked, and it has to do a lot of things which you can't even see in your naked eye. So that's why we always try to avoid such kind of operation and try to make things flexible, right? Now, this is the reason why Pega doesn't want you to read and write every time to the database, because there is a chance that you might get into a deadlock and the performance might get impacted and all. And that's why Pega introduced the database concept. So what Pega tells, that you do one thing, you get the data and try to get a copy of the data depending on the nature of the data that you need. You obviously don't need the entire backend to be copied in database. You just need a portion of it for your interaction, and then use that as part of your interaction. That's exactly what database is all about. We are, instead of going and communicating with the backend system, we are just getting a copy of the data and keeping that in the clipboard page so that we can interact in our process. Now, as you guys understood the concept, which is a very important thing, now let's jump into Pega, where you're gonna find the database and see what are the settings that we have got for the database. Now, if you see, you go to Record Explorer, you go to Data Model, and you see database you can find over here, right? Now, when I create a new database, let's create a new database and see what's happening. So you see this database belongs to the class called rule-declare-pages. So if I take this rule-declare-pages and go to the App Explorer and paste it over here, so you'll see all the databases that you would have created is an instance of this particular class, right? Now, I hope this is clear. Now let's just open one of the database, and then I'll probably quickly take you through on all the properties, right? I'll, instead of creating a new database, I'll just open one database. Okay. Now first thing is, so if we start from this one, so basically a database is going to be basically a database is belongs to a class, right? Now every database is belongs to a class. It's like I told, it's a clipboard page, right? That means it has to be belongs to a class, right? So that it can use those property. Now this database is belongs to xyz-pg@-data-name, right? Now what does it mean? So I mean, in a very simple way, if you want to understand, that means this database can use all the property that this class has, and also this class inheritance path has, right? Now first name, last name, middle name, and also it. So let's say it's a pattern inheritance, right? All the property, I do not have any property, but if I have, then all the property this database can access. So that's why it has to belong to a class. Now in the structure, you got two different type, right? One is page and list. It's exactly like how you, what is the difference between a page and page list? A page can contain a single page and a page list can contain an array of pages, right? It's the exactly same thing. If I choose page, that means my data page will be a page. If I choose a list, my data page is a list, right? I hope you understood. Now coming back to mode. So there are three different modes that we have got. One is read-only mode, editable mode, and a savable mode. Now read-only mode is like over here in my example, what my database would do, database will read and then it will store those data into the clipboard so that my process can use it. That's the simple definition of that. Now what do you mean by editable mode? Basically editable mode, what it does is, so let's say you read from database, right? Now you store that into the clipboard. Now you can update the value so that you can use them in later point of time. Let's say for example, I read it from the database, his first name is Sri, and in the process I wanted to update the first name as XYZ, right? Now if it is a read-only page, obviously you can't do it. If it is an editable page, then you can update that in the clipboard so that later on you can take them to store into database, or you can use them as a condition, or you can use them to do something about it. So this is why editable is important. Now what do you mean by savable? So if you see, if I do read only or editable, you will see I have got only data source, right? Now the moment I put savable, what you'll see, you'll find another thing. Let me do it so that you'll get to know. So the moment I put savable, what happened is you find the data save option. So what does it mean by that? So basically, what does it mean by savable is, savable is the database which can read and also write into the database. Let's say you got SOR system, right? Now you read it. So in read-only format, you read from the database. In editable format, you can edit only in the clipboard, right? Not in the to the database. So let's say if I change the first name equal to XYZ from 3, that means it will be in the clipboard, right? Now savable will give you a flexibility if you have a requirement wherein you read from the database, do the changes, and then update to the database. So that's why you see data source, that means I'm sourcing the data from, and then data save option, that means I'm saving the data from. Now you can also do in such a way wherein you read from one source, let's say database, and you wanted to update to an API, or you wanted to call an API with the updated value. So you can also do that. I mean, there is no constraint that wherever you are going to read it from, you are going to also save there. So there is no constraint here. Now if I go to read only, so you'll have three options, right? For the scope has been divided into three sections, right? One is thread, another one is requester, another one is node. So I was just showing you before, right, over here. So I got thread, node, and requester, right? So what do we mean by? So see, when I created a case, that means a case is so I've got a case ID, right? The case ID is nothing but a thread, right? So let's say if I got 5 case ID, so when I create the database in thread level, so what does that mean? That Pega will create 5 different databases for that respective thread. So it's not going to, so you basically can't save those databases across each other. So that database which is in the scope of thread can only be shared for O5005. Now if I change, let's say O5006, that means the database which you will have a different value. So that means thread database cannot share across the thread, right? Now coming back to requester. Now what does requester means? A requester is nothing but, in a simple language, it's an operator, right? Now let's say I logged in, right? Now let's say if I refer a database and the database has been loaded. So that database is valid until I log off and then I terminate my session. So what does it mean? Let's say in my session, I've created 5 threads, exactly if I give the same example, right? Now if I give 5 thread, if I create 5 thread, and let's say if I have a database on the requester scope, that means all those 5 thread can share the database values, whatever I have created, because it's in my requester session. Now let's say if I log off, and come back again, then again whatever database, so that means obviously that database requester scope is gone and it has been deleted. Now next time when I'm gonna come again, when I'm gonna log in and do whatever, then when the database again load, then it will be valid until I log off. So that's how the requester scope works. Now, what is a node scope? So as you, I mean, not sure if many people knows. So node is nothing but a server, right? Now let's say if I'm in my standalone server, right? That means I've got just one node over here, right? Now in real time, wherein let's say in the bank or in the production system, you will have multi-node environment. That means what does it mean? So you will have multi-server which will be clustered, and the clustering mechanism will take care of the request going to the each node. So that means if I would create a database in a node level, that means it is going to load only once and share that value across all the thread that has been created, across all the requester session that has been created. So basically it will load and you can share them. Here one point you need to remember. So when I choose node, you see the database mode is always going to be read only. Remember, you cannot edit or you cannot have a savable database on the node scope. So you'll say how? So let's say if I change editable database, right? So you'll see you'll not have option of thread and requester. If I change savable, you'll not have option of thread. You'll not have option of node. So only when I do read only, that's where you'll have option of thread, requester, and node. So that means my node is always going to, node database is always going to be a read only. You cannot create an editable or a savable database on the requester level, right? Now, I hope this database definition is clear. Now here, I would like to explain another thing. Let's say if my database is a list, right? You see there is an extra option came up that is called keyed page access. So basically what is a keyed page access? So basically what does it mean by, so this database, the list database, it entirely going to be loaded in the clipboard page. And here you can pass a defined key. Let's say if it is a customer database, right? Now I would get all the customer to my clipboard page. Now by using this one, I will say, okay, I'll pass customer ID, dot customer ID. Obviously I'll not have, but just I'm giving you an example. You give me all the value for that particular customer ID. Now there is a chance that this option allow multiple pages for key. It will give you more than one also. For example, you got country, right? A country can have multiple state. So during that time you can use this, because if I pass a country code, that means that I will get more than one state, right? So during that time you can, this kind of example where you can choose allow multiple pages per key. So basically it's going to give you a list of pages for that particular key. So this is one of the database pattern, database pattern, which is called keyed access pattern. So I have planned for you guys all those pattern to be explained, because that is very crucial. So I have the plan to make sure that you guys understand about all the patterns. So I'm going to do videos for each and every pattern. So don't worry about it. For the time being, just understand there is something called keyed access pattern, which you're gonna use it by choosing this example or by choosing this option. I hope this is clear. Now let's go back to the data source. Now what is a data source? As the name itself indicates, data source is nothing but you are going to source the data from a backend system. Now this backend can be potentially many things. Here you have got multiple sources. For example, connector. So connector is the one which will help you to connect all the REST service, SOAP service, .NET, SAP and all. At the moment, obviously, I have only worked on REST and SOAP. There are other connectors that I have to explore for you guys. But definitely, many people have requested for the connector video to be explained. I will do that eventually. So that's where you connect to the connector. So basically, you are connecting to the external system via API or SOAP service, and you are getting the detail. Now, data transform is simple, that you create a data transform for your in your application, and then you manipulate the data or do something in the data and use that to fetch the data so that you can load them into the database. Similarly, you got report definition, which will help you to refer a report definition, and you can go ahead and fetch the detail from the database. And you got lookup. So basically lookup is nothing but you need to give a class name, okay, pass a unique object, like for example the case id or any unique object, and then you can fetch the detail from the database for that particular object id, so that you can have that into the database for your use. So any class that you use, obviously, so basically I'll just give a quick example. So for example, you have used this class, right? Now if I go here and let's say if I'm using the lookup for this particular class, see here you have got key, right? Access role and access to class. All I need to do is pass that access role and access to class as part of the parameter, and then automatically it will go and fetch the details from the database so that you can use them to attach to your database. So that is how lookup will work. Now activity, simple activity how you're gonna use. And then there are two, so this aggregate sources, basically it has been added as part of your 8.5 onwards, I guess, because in 7.4 when I was working, I never had seen that. So aggregate source, basically it has got multiple sources and then you can combine them all together and then use that response. And then robotic automation, to be honest, I never had worked on it so far, but it just, it is something to do with Pega robotic. So these are the sources that you can potentially get the data from. Another thing with respect to source that I would like to highlight is you can have more than one sources. For example, you have a scenario wherein if condition A satisfy, then you go and get the detail from let's say connector, right? A REST connector. But if otherwise, if that condition doesn't satisfy, then you better get the detail from the database table. So during this kind of if else conditions where you got more than one sources that data can be potentially fetching from, so you can have more than one sources by providing a condition. You can add as many as number as you want by using the when condition. You can use the when condition over here. It's just a if else if condition. Based on that, it will choose which source you need to go. I hope this is clear. Another one which I need to explain you guys about the simulate data source. Now, why simulate data source? So basically, let's say I have, I'll give you a very nice example. Let's say I've connected to a connector, REST API, REST connector. Now, unfortunately, my, so REST connector means obviously the API team you need to deal with. Now, unfortunately, the API team is not ready and their code is not ready. So obviously you can't wait for them until they finish, right? So what during this time you need to do is you need to simulate. When I say simulate, the other word of simulate is stop. You need to stop the database, right? So what you can do is you can do a simulate data source and you can choose. So you see how you got lookup, activity, report definition, data transform, right? You can use a data transform, call the test data transform or something, just hard code all the value so that it will be helpful for your testing. It is mainly for testing purpose that we do. So and if my backend is not ready, then I will do the simulate data source so that I won't need to wait for them. So that's the beauty of the simulate data source. So I hope this entire data source section is you understood everything. Now coming back to here, one post load processing, basically it is nothing but, if you see any of the flow action where you got pre-action and post action, basically post load processing, let's say after executing this data source, if you want to do something about it, then you can use you can actually call an activity here and then you do whatever you want. And then let's say if I call add record post processing, then I can, obviously I'm just showing you. So this activity, what it does is it's basically going to process and execute after it process. So basically it will be a post processing for this particular database. So in a scenario, if you want to do some changes after you load the data, then you can use this kind of feature to add an activity to change them accordingly. Coming to the load management tab, there are a lot of variation to it depending on what you choose in this particular section. Basically what you choose in mode and scope. Now let's say at the moment I have got read-only mode with the scope is thread, right? Now if you see what are the options that I'm getting first is clear database. So when you're gonna use it, if you want to clear the database manually, so you can click on this clear database and then you say plus all and do a submit. So basically it is going to clear everything that is there in the clipboard. So generally we do for node level database in production, if we wanted to reload them freshly for some or other reason, and for thread and all, if it gets stuck and I wanted, and while doing testing and all, if I wanted to change the value or something, then I do this create database, right? You got refresh strategy. So as the name itself indicate, what does it mean? It's like you wanted to refresh the database. Let's say, so as you guys know, if the database is read only, it is going to be, like I told, depending on the scope, the database will valid for that particular thread or requester or node, right? So obviously it won't get refreshed automatically unless you do manually. When I say manually, so for example, if people don't know how to trigger the database, or how to load the database, you can load the database by just referring this name d underscore xyz pz her data name list, right? By just referring this name in a data transform or something. I'm going to show you guys the practical, but I'm telling you just for your theoretical knowledge. So by referring that name, you're going to load it. Now, when the database is expired, depending on the scope that you have chosen, let's say if thread, it will be on the thread. Now, let's say in the thread, I wanted to basically refresh it. That means, let's say I have a condition. For that condition, I wanted to refresh it, and I wanted to get a fresh detail again back from the backend. During that time, I can use do not reload when. I can put a when condition, and based on that, if the when condition satisfied, based on that, it will decide when to load or when not to load. Or let's say if I know that I wanted to reload for every 1 hour or minute or second or for day. So reload if order, then you can use, and so that, let's say for example, let's say if I use 5 seconds, now you refer the database, now it loaded, and after 5 seconds or after 7 seconds, let's say if you're referring, then it will again go and load. So that's how reload if order then will work into work. Now reload once per interaction. This is a different concept. Is as good as that. Every time you refer the database, basically it is going and getting the fresh detail. Now let's say if I change it to requester and node, right? So what will happen is, now if you see I change to requester, you get something called clear page after non-use. Now if you got node, right, you also get clear page after non-use. So there are a couple of difference between request and node. I will tell that, but just focus on this particular option. Clear page after non-use. What is the difference between first thing? What is this? So basically, it says if your database is not been used for so and so time or for some the respective condition, that means it will clear the database from the clipboard. Now if I let's say if my scope is node requester, right? Now if I say clear pages after non-use, so what will happen basically, how the database is loaded? When I do and I process a case, and if I refer the database, let's say my database is loaded in the requester session. Now I will do multiple cases, and obviously that database will be valid until the session or until I log off, right? Let's say if you have chosen this one, right? So what will happen? Let's say you've created again 5 cases, okay? And let's say all the 5 cases has been processed successfully, and I am still logged in. So if you have chosen this one, clear pages after non-use, that means this database will automatically be removed from the clipboard. It will not wait for you to log off. That's why, when you're going to do it, let's say if you wanted to have, if you wanted to save some memory, or you wanted to increase or improve your performance, you can do that, but make sure you are doing it properly. Don't just blindly choose that, because what if you blindly choose that and then you end up going to another going to have another trip to the database to load it again. So make sure you are choosing it rightly. Now if I choose node, what does it mean? Clear page after non-use. As you know, node is in a different level than requester and thread, right? Node is like server level. So if I do clear page after non-use, so basically what happened, there is a default time called 24 hours. It's actually in second, not in hours. But basically Pega will see if this particular database in node level has been used or accessed in last 24 hours or not. If it has not been accessed in 24 hours, then Pega would delete from the node level. Now, next time when you're going to refer it, it will again go and reload the database freshly from the backend system. Let's say you got a requirement. I mean, you wanted to increase the performance, and then you don't want to wait for 24 hours. So what you can do is there is a many people would know dynamic system setting. So what you can do is you can search. You can do here. Go here in the Record Explorer and System Admin and Dynamic System Setting. Right. So you can go to Dynamic System Setting. What you can do is there is something called PR config. So basically this is the one, PR config, declare pages, default ideal time second, default. So basically like I told, the default one is actually 24 hours, right? So you can override. For example, let's say if I wanted to change it, what I can do is I can go to DSS and I can create one DSS. Let's say your rule, I mean, you can type the short description is changing the default time of the node level database, right? And owning rule set would be, let's say, PZ HUD, all right? And setting purposes is going to be like this, right? Now, when you do this, it will basically create, okay, so PR config bootstrap setting, okay, so it has to be with this one. All right, now what it's gonna do is it's going to basically here you can say, let's say 3600, right? Now if you mention 36, it will take as a second. So that means here after every 1 hour of non-use time of your node level database, automatically Pega would refresh the database. Basically Pega would delete that from the clipboard. So you can override this value by creating this DSS value in your application. So here Pega gives you a privilege to override this DSS and then override the value, which is default is 24 hours, like I told, right? So that's how you're gonna use this if at all you wanted to improve the performance. Now I think you understood about the load management tab over here. Now one thing I wanted to tell, if you choose editable, right, or if you choose savable, right, so you will not have the refresh strategy. Okay, so before that, one thing I wanted to tell that, let's say if it is read only and if it is node and you go to load management, right, and you have got clear page after non-use, right? So basically it will only be valid if you do not have any settings in this reload if folder. Then remember this one. I'll tell you why. Because if it is reload a folder then is there, right? Pega would store this value first and will try to look for this value first. So based on that, it will refresh the strategy. Only if this value is blank, that's where that 24 hours will get triggered, or the DSS whatever you're gonna set is going to be triggered, right? That is one thing which I missed it. Now again, going back to editable, you cannot have the option to refresh the editable database because of why? Because you don't want to lose the data which you have edited. That's why Pega recommends you to handle that in your code. If you wanted to refresh it, you delete the database in the code and then you again refer the database so that it will do a fresh call. So you have to handle via code. There is no out of the box refresh strategy available for you. Now if I go for savable, you will have only one option, invalidate the page after a successful save. So let's say what it does is, like, once you refer the savable database to save those data into the backend, then it will invalidate the page. So that's the only thing which you will get an extra option. Now coming back to the definition tab here, let's say if I choose thread, right? Okay, let me choose read only. So if you see, if I choose thread, I'll have this option, reload once per interaction, do not reload when, right? If I choose requester, I'll have one option, reload once per interaction, do not reload when. But if I choose node, you'll see I will not have reload once per interaction or do not reload when, but instead there is an extra thing called access group, which is mandatory. Now why is that, right? Now let's say your database is in a thread level, right? When I say thread, that means in Pega, what is a thread? It is nothing but a case ID. When I say case ID, what does it mean by a case ID? That means you will have some your application, or you will create a case type, right? Now this case type has a context, right? For example, this account class belongs to, if I go this one, this account class belongs to XYZ PZ Hut work hyphen account. A customer class belongs to XYZ PZ Hut hyphen work hyphen customer, right? So Pega knows the context. So Pega will start from this context and try to execute this database when you choose thread level, right? Now, when I choose requester label, so what will happen? My requester belongs to an access group, right? Now, if I, so this is my username. It belongs to an access group. Now, this access group has got an application linked to that access group, isn't it? So that means when I choose requester, Pega knows this is the application context that I need to choose to load this database, right? But however, if you see the node, what is a node? A node is nothing but a server, right? Now your application is deployed in the server, isn't it? Now node level is completely outside, right? It is on the top level, it is on the server level. So a node, for example, this node can have more than one application, isn't it? I can have PC Hut, I can have so if you see, I have onboarding application, I have Rocky application, I've got a lot of application. So that is the reason if you choose node level, Pega doesn't know on which context it will execute that database. So what is the beauty of node level database? We want it to be loaded only once, right? And then we need to reuse, right? So that's the reason why it asks for an access group, which will help Pega to load this and keep it in a server. Generally, what we do, we give the administrator access group, which will help Pega to just go and load it so that everybody can use it. Now hypothetically speaking, let's think that I do not have this access group mandatory. So what would have happened? Now, what I told, what is the benefit of node level database? Node level database so that it can stay in the node and it can share the data across application, across thread, across requester, everything, right? Now let's say if I don't have this mandatory, what will happen? Let's say if I'm from Pega Hut application or from my requester context, if I am trying to refer this database which is node level, then it will load. Let's say if you are logging, you got a different access group, it will load from your context. Now, if I'm using a different application, it will load in that context. So that means the whole purpose will be defeated, right? The purpose of node level database so that it can load and stay in the server level and it can be used across the application, right? So that's the reason why access group is mandatory when you choose a node level. It is very crucial point and not many people would understand that, because I took myself a lot of time to understand. There are theoretical version of it which people wouldn't understand. I mean, I didn't understand, to be honest. As in when I experienced that, I started working on, I got to know about that. Hope this gives you bit of idea about why we need access group in node level. Now let's understand the parameter tab of database. Now if I go to parameter, I can basically define a parameter. That's the first name and last name, like that. First name and then last name, like that. So basically what happened is, you can basically, if I say it's mandatory, so when you call this database, you need to pass the parameter. Now there is a syntax to that. I'll just show you over here. So for this parameter page, as I have got first name and last name, so basically you this is the syntax that you need to refer if it is a parameterized database. So you have to give database name and then bracket, and first give the parameter, colon, what is the value of that parameter, comma, what is the second parameter, colon, what is the value of parameter. If you got more than one, based on that you give. Now in this example, as my first name is mandatory, not the last name, so either I can give this one, or I can give here I can say first name is NPC. Okay, so like that I can give, and I don't need to give last name, right? So this way also I can call this database. Now, so if you see one thing, because I have added parameter, right? If I go to load management tab, there is another option came into picture, that is called limit to a single database. So until now, because I didn't have parameter, it was not there, right? Now because I've added, it came. What does it mean? Now the meaning is, if I go to this case type, right, and then I open the clipboard, right, here if I go to a database thread, right, now here if you see, can you see here d_px operator detail, there are two database instance. One is operator ID Siki and operator ID Pega Hut admin, right? Now what does it mean? Basically it is a parameterized database. So each database will have its own value. Now if I say limit, if I say this one, where exactly? Okay. If I say limit to a single database, that means whatever the last referred database will be over here. It will be overridden. So basically, you will, at a given point of time, you will only have one instance or one reference of that particular database, no matter what the parameter. Now, page and class. So basically, you can define page and class. If you are using that page in any of the database or you're doing something, you can define in the page and class. It's like other page and class. So there is no proper justification to that. Now, uses. So basically, this is a tab which will help you to show where all this database is getting referred. You can't do anything manually. Pega automatically evaluate that wherever you have. Basically, it's kind of a reference rule. If you want to see where all this database has been referred, at the moment I haven't referred anywhere. That's why you see this usage is blank. But if you want to see, try using this database into one of your data transform or something, then you can see the details will be over here. So that's pretty much it about database. I hope this is clear. So we have covered definition tab, we have covered load management tab, we have covered parameter, we have covered page and class, we have covered usage. And my plan is to show you some practical also. Obviously, this is just a theoretical concept that I wanted to tell. And once I am so in my next session, I'm going to do practical so that you know how we are calling the database, how we are executing the database in different scope, and then a lot of other options what are like we can potentially do. That's it for today and hope you understood clearly. Please hit the like button if you learned something or you like the way I have explained, and leave me a comment if you have any queries or feedback for me. It will help me to improve and also motivate me to post more concepts and videos. As I always tell, sharing is caring, so do share with others so people who do not know about my channel will be benefited. Stay tuned for my next video, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do subscribe and click on the bell notification for my new video updates. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.